Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Hilary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness in the human spirit and creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hilary Arno Burns.
Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, and we have a very special guest, which I will introduce in a couple minutes. I just want to let you know that what this show is about is people saying what they don't normally say, telling their extraordinary stories, and getting free themselves, getting their own greatness, and inspiring others. And I would just like to tell you that if you are someone who does not speak up and is a people pleaser like me, this book, Real Talk, you can find it at realtalkwithhilary.com, will help you. And if it doesn't, just schedule a call with me and we will help you get free. That's what I love to do because I was in your shoes and still am. It's never ending process. I also have a book called Your Bullshit is Your Blessing, which is about if you feel bad for feeling bad, frustrated because you're frustrated or any of those things, this will have you stop fixing yourself and start having more fun. And if you just need some summer reading, this is my tell-all, very courageously written book, The Second Piece of French Toast, which talks about when I was stuck, I don't know, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and how I got unstuck. So that's to inspire you. And now I'm going to introduce our very, very special guest, Rhory Kadish Lamboy, who was born in Brooklyn. We love that. She's an educational therapist, an author, and she has quite a few stories. She's all about pushing herself through any time when she was fearful, and she has done that. She's an amazing woman. And welcome, Rhory.
Hi, Hilary.
Hi. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
So, all right. So, what was it like growing up in Brooklyn? I know you had said you were born in a wad of cement.
Well, I was telling you is that the word camping never came up as a child. Nobody ever went camping. So when I moved to California, camping and hiking, it was just, and I actually ended up marrying Huckleberry Finn because I married a guy that loved to hike and loved to camp. And so anyway, he dragged me to many a place. Actually, we went on a hike to Hawaii, through the Kalawao Valley, and I thought for sure I'd never see my mother again. I was like scared to death. And he was a little bit of a hedonist. He brought this big tape recorder with him before we had Walkman or anything like that. And so when we got there, we ran out of food. So we had to trade a film. He brought film. We had to trade 2 rolls of film for a fish. So
oh my God,
not a trip for a good New York Jewish girl.
So did you have to buy like hiking boots or something?
We had to buy everything. And then when we got out of there, we actually stayed with some friends who lived on that island. And when we got out of there, we saw some people hitchhiking to that place that we went. And I was just sitting in the front seat. I didn't say a word. And they were talking about how nice it was and how the hills and this and that. And I just sat there. I turned around and I said to them, there are places there you could die, you know. And so it was, looking back, I'm glad I did it, of course. Yeah, I kind of pushed myself through that one. Yeah, because not a hiker for sure.
Wow. So you did it. You pushed yourself through the fear. Where do you think where was the first time you were afraid, that you remember being afraid, that you said, I'm going to conquer this?
Well, I am a cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor, like 32 years. I want people to know there's hope out there. And
wow, congratulations.
Thanks. And that was pretty scary. And, I had thoughts of like, what if I don't, my nephew was about like 18 months old. Like, what if I never see him bar mitzvah, or what if I never see him married, or, you can't help but think of things like that. And so it was pretty scary. And I just found a lot of different ways to get through that. I'm also in Overeaters Anonymous. I have an eating disorder that I don't have anymore, really, where I used to get up in the middle of the night and eat like on the hour. It's very weird. It's called nocturnal eating syndrome. And yeah. And so I joined Overeaters Anonymous. I did the Landmark Forum. I started meditating. I just tried to grab onto anything that would keep me from being depressed. I've never been depressed in my life. I'm an anxious person, but I've really never been depressed. I know they're one and the same, but anyway, it's my take on it.
So how did you cure the nocturnal eating? How old were you then?
Well,
Like how did you get through that?
I think it started when I was 12, and I found out that my dad did it also, and I'd meet him like in the middle of the night at the refrigerator. But it didn't bother him. It just bothered me that I did it because I do it like every single night. It was really horrible because then I get up in the morning and I wouldn't eat all day long. So it was like morning anorexia, and then I would eat everything at night. I couldn't keep any food in the house. I didn't keep anything in the refrigerator. I kept everything in my car, not anything perishable, but it was just awful. And then
So how many years? If you noticed that at 12, how many years did that?
I haven't been doing it for 15 years, and I'm 75. So it's been a pretty long time. And it came and it went. It doesn't come and go anymore. I would no sooner think of getting up in the middle of the night and eating than I would of going and shooting somebody. I just wouldn't do it. But I once listened to I was home from school and I was listening to a TV show, and they were talking about people that did that. And I thought, oh my God, like it was kind of like finding out you're bulimic and that you're not the only one. And so I grabbed onto some friends online, and this one guy named Lance, I'll never forget, he said he put blue masking tape all over the kitchen doors so that he wouldn't go into the kitchen at night. So I thought I'd try it. So I put blue, and I don't have any doors on my kitchen. I put blue masking tape all over the place. And for 3 or 4 nights, I'd get up and I'd see the tape and I'd say, no, I'm not going to do that. And I go back to sleep, and I thought I found the magic cure until like the 4th night, I realized that I could climb under the tape. And so that was the end of Lance's good idea. And as much as I hate to admit it, it was Overeaters Anonymous that really helped me. And I hated going there. I prayed that I had a sleeping disorder. Something really romantic about having a sleeping disorder. Every American has a sleeping disorder as opposed to an eating disorder. But it really, it got me out of it somehow. And that was like the beginning of a spiritual program for myself. So.
And when was that? What if you started at age 12? When did the Overeating Anonymous help?
Well, I was in and out, in and out, in and out,
Okay.
in and out. But I would say about maybe 25 years ago. And I don't know what it was, but I had this sponsor. I don't know what she said, because I would get up and say, well, I'm not really sleeping. I'm just up, And what she said was, why don't you try not eating from midnight till 7 a.m? And I thought, oh, okay. I know when midnight is. I know when 7 a.m. is. Why hadn't I thought of that before? And so that was it. I just never did it after that.
But if 25 years ago you were 50, so this went on for many, many, like 40.
Well,
I had 38 years.
Well, I had like times in there, like 5 years where I was abstinent. It wasn't like it was hit and miss, but I had a sponsor, and I was not eating at night for like 5 or 6 years. And then I actually didn't eat in the middle of the night all through my cancer, all through my parents' deaths. So it's kind of amazing what the program does for people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you, I mean, I don't know the program. How does it help?
It's just like AA.
So are you just aware or you have the steps or something?
We have the steps, and um the abstinence instead of this being sober is like whatever you decide it's going to be. Some people say they don't eat sugar. Some people say they don't eat flour. Everybody makes their own abstinence. So mine was that I just didn't eat between 12 and 7.
Mm,
It seems like really pretty simple, but
yeah.
yeah.
Now, did you have a weight problem or you just had this weird eating
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, I did have a
You
weight.
did. Okay. So it
Yeah.
did gain. Okay. All right. Wow. Whew. Okay. So, okay. So that we didn't even talk about that
I'm
before. So
sorry
that's
that should
like
have
what? No,
just fell
I
out of
love it.
my mouth.
I mean, not that I love you went through that, but okay. So, and then, so in 1988, you had the cancer, right? And
Yeah.
is that 32 years from now? I can't even do the math, but
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
Can't remember the math either.
But so that's a big thing too, because back then they didn't have the treatments that they have now, right?
No,
So it must have been
yeah,
harder.
it was weird because I was eating dinner and I can't even think now how it happened. I took my fork and I went down to put it in my plate and I felt something. I mean, that was kind of weird. And I had just about 3 or 4 months before that had a mammogram, and he said it was okay, and the machine was broken, or I don't know. I didn't even think. I never thought about being sick as as a young person, and I thought, oh, maybe I should go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor and he aspirated it. And he said, yeah, he sent me to a surgeon. And within 3 or 4 days, um, I had a mastectomy. But I'd like to, this is a kind of funny point, but
Whoa.
the gynecologist that I had then, years later, we became friends and we actually did stand-up comedy together, my gynecologist. And I said, and he had to
Was
introduce
it a
me.
guy or a girl?
Yeah, Dr.
A
Robert
guy.
Collins. Yeah, a really cool guy. And he had to introduce me. And I said, when you introduce me, you can really say that you know me inside and out, and you wouldn't be lying. So
Wow.
fun. Yeah.
So okay. So you felt something, you go to the doctor, and 3 to 4 days later they did a mastectomy. So they knew it was cancer right there, right? Did they
Yeah.
say what stage it was
Well,
at
I
that
remember
point?
when I went to the hospital and I guess he aspirated it again, the surgeon. I remember my mother standing there with her hand on my head, and she looked over to me and she said, "It's bad." And people say, "Oh, that was terrible." It wasn't terrible. I was like, my mother was a character. I was so relieved, that they were just going to do. In other words, she was saying, "Let's just do it now." There's no sense going around looking for second opinions. It was bad, and so I think it was stage 4 or 5. Yeah, even though it was
How,
small, but anyway, yeah.
so what uh, normally they do a biopsy. What does aspirate mean and how did they know it was cancer right there?
I think the aspiration is like a biopsy.
Oh, okay. So they take it and they look and they knew right away. Wow.
Within 3 days, he knew.
So it's a good thing your fork missed and hit your boob, right?
I've had a lot of things like that where just all of a sudden, like we can talk about it later, but I at night last year I was watching TV and I was kind of going like this with my eyes, and I saw one of my eyes had like what I call a lace cookie. Of course, it has to be food, but very lacy cookie in front of my eye. And I had just had cataract surgery, and I thought, oh, I don't know, something's wrong. So on Sunday, I called the doctor on call. On Monday, I went to the or what is it, the ophthalmologist. On Monday, he sent me to the retina doctor, and the retina doctor sent me for a blood test. And 4 hours later, he called me and said, "Get to the hospital immediately. Tell them to put you on steroids. You're losing your eyesight." So that was another one of those lucky things, where I just happened to notice that my eye was weird, but it could have been from the cataracts also. And I've had a
Well,
lot of lucky things. Yeah,
so why were you losing it? Like,
I don't know. It's an
but
auto.
they saved it. I mean, it's amazing that they saved it.
Well, it's an autoimmune disease called giant cell arteritis. And
Oh,
um, this eye isn't as clear as the other eye, but I think I caught it in time. So I really need to wear glasses now, but I forget about it. You know what I mean? It's good enough for me to forget
yeah.
about during the day. And there are times, like putting on my makeup this morning was a little wonky, but made it through.
Yeah. Wow. Whoa. Okay. So we had the cancer, we had the autoimmune now. What else you got? We got the we got
I
the
didn't
overeating.
even,
Yeah, the night eating. What else? What else can we get through the fear? My gosh.
well, the eye thing, I took, and it was during COVID. And I also had the
Oh,
cataract surgery during COVID. So it was really scary because nobody could really take me and nobody could help me. And it was pretty scary. But what I had to do, because I was really scared. I mean, I've never really talked about it like this, but I had no one to really talk about. Like, what if I lost my eyesight? I mean, I was like pretty nervous. And so I decided that I would take up things that would be positive. So I took up mindful meditation. I did the MBSR, the John Kabat-Zinn program for meditation. I did,
mm,
I'm a landmark graduate, so I did some seminars. I decided I needed to be around people that weren't toxic because
mm.
people would call and say, "Oh, you poor thing." Oh, and that like really kind of drove me crazy because it was like a pity thing. And it's like, anyway, just, it's hard for me
But
to,
when was that? Was that after they saved your eyesight or before?
that
Or
was
with
actually last year. And so, yes. And I was in the hospital for a week on 60 milligrams of prednisone, which is really a lot. And
wow.
I'm only on three, on 3 milligrams now. Um, I didn't tell you any of this, but at the same time, I had knee surgery and I ended up with an infection in my knee. So that really put a damper on this whole. It was like one of these things. It's like some medicine was bad for my immune system and some of it I needed for my eye. So it was like a balancing act to make sure that everything was okay. And thank God right now it's all good. Right now as we speak, everything.
So
every
was this all from the autoimmune or did they were just random like the knee surgery? Was it from an injury?
Oh, the knee surgery was just old age. I needed a new knee. But I ended up having to have two knees and one knee. It's so weird to talk to you about all this because I'm so not a sick person, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think I would acknowledge myself for overcoming a lot of it mentally. I mean, physically I
Yeah.
could only do what I could do, but mentally I really try really hard to stay out of the pity pot.
Right. Wow.
And
Yeah, because we had a few conversations, none of this ever came up. So it's
I
like,
know, I'm so
oh,
sorry.
no, no, no. I think you know what? My theory is whatever's coming up is supposed to come up, but it helps to talk about it, to
Yeah.
get free, and other people who might be having a pity party might be inspired by how you're dealing with it. I know other people who have terrible things and they're just like, this is just what's so, and I still have a great life. And it's like, wow, I think it's very inspiring. So thank you.
Thank
So
you.
wow. Okay. All right. So that was that. Um, you were born in Brooklyn, you ended up in California with your person that you loved. You said you fell in love with, you knew him for 25 years, right? And
Yeah,
um
I met him here. A mutual friend introduced us, and he was in the clothing business, and so was I. And so we just kind of hooked up. And when I went to visit him in his showroom, I just fell in love with him. He was just the nicest, sweetest man, and it seemed to be a mutual admiration. And so we became really good friends. And because I like to do things the hard way. Come to find out later that he was a switch hitter. I love baseball, so but that he was bisexual, and I mean it was fun. I mean, we got married. We probably shouldn't have. We were young, and we did love each other. So and it was in those crazy days, And then he died of AIDS, and I'm okay. I was okay. Nothing ever happened, but I do remember that phone call. He wanted me to get tested. I don't want to get tested because I was too afraid. And once again, he had somebody come down from San Francisco to where I worked to give me the test, and was like so petrified. But I thought, no, I'm going to go through this. And then it turned out, I didn't have it. But
did he find out he had it after you got married, or did you know when you got married?
It was after he was tested, and he was tested, and he tested negative. They had a certain test at the time where a lot of people got tested negative, and then a year later he got a letter saying he was positive. Yeah.
That the test was wrong?
The test just wasn't efficient at the time because it was so new. It was kind of like the vaccine, it was so new that nobody knew. A lot of people, that happened to a lot of people.
Wow.
I forgot what the test was called, but yeah, it happened to a lot of people. That was like really weird. Can you imagine if you think you're okay and then about a year later.
And who knows who have you been with since then, right? Oh my God. Right? That's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember we were all scared. It was back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
we all gave blood. Yeah, we were terrified. We all gave blood. That's what I worked down on Wall Street. We all gave blood, and then we would find out if they couldn't use it. So I think no news was good news, so we realized we were okay, but thank God, right?
I didn't realize that all those people that gave blood before they knew and then found out because they were doing something, positive, something good, to find out that
right.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, all that. And if you thought you were negative and then you were still with, having sex, then you were spreading it unknowingly, right?
Pretty scary. Yeah.
Those times were scary, right? That was a scary time. So, okay. So you were only married a couple years and then he passed away, right?
Right.
But you didn't regret getting married, right? After all that?
I probably wouldn't do it again, but I lived in San Francisco, and it was quite a lot of fun living in San Francisco and being crazy and not knowing the difference between Saturday and Monday,
Why?
Oh, just partying and dancing.
Oh, okay.
And being a child of the 60s, and nothing bad. Nothing bad.
What were you? No. And what were you doing? Is that when you had your business? I know the Kadish business. You had a Kadish business. Is that when you had that business?
We moved to LA because we were doing it out of the house. Somebody reported us, and we decided to do it in Los Angeles, where there were more people who knew what Kadishs were. And it was my sister, my husband, and myself. He was the cook, and my sister and I were the kind of the brains. And we sold to the Lakers Forum, and we sold to we sold to a lot of big places. And the name of the company, I probably didn't tell you this, but the name of the company was called My Mother's Kadish. And in Yiddish or in Jewish, Kadish is like a little girl's, it's an endearing little word, And so the name of the company was You Haven't Eaten Until You've Eaten My Mother's Kadish. And so somebody once came up to my sister and said, "That's not very nice." And my sister said, "Well, we thought if it was okay with my mom, it'd be okay with you." So it was fun because we were two women.
They must have been delicious. You made a whole business out of what? Did you have different flavors?
Yeah, we had all kinds of different flavors. And we had one that was called the chicken sink. Let's see if I can remember. Chicken, it had chicken, spinach, cheese, mushrooms, garlic, and potatoes. Really, really good. And then my sister and I, was another struggle. We were the only two women that were really delivering things then. It was always men, but we had nice polished nails and we always looked pretty, and they always let us in when you weren't supposed to deliver. Like if it said no deliveries between 10 and 1, they'd always let us in. So being a woman was a positive thing.
Wow. Yeah, and then you said when you went to So how long did you have the Kadish business?
Well, our agreement was we were going to have it until it wasn't fun anymore. And so
Right.
we had it for 11 years, and then it wasn't fun anymore. And we sold it. Our last meeting was at Disneyland. We sent a letter to Michael Eisner, and we sent some knishes to him. And I wrote like a funny note saying, we know in another lifetime, we must have been from the same shtetl, same hometown, blah, blah, blah. And it was a kind of funny little note. And we brought it up to the Burbank studios with the knishes, and they took them. And then 3 days later, we got a letter with a little Mickey Mouse on it saying that we had an appointment with the guys that bought the food. And so my sister and I traipsed up to Anaheim, and they wanted to buy them, but like everything at Disneyland, they want us to make knishes that look like Mickey Mouse, with
Oh my God.
yeah, and they wanted them to be really inexpensive. And anyway, that's when we decided it's probably time.
Yeah. Wow, what a cool thing. All right. So then let's see. Is it time for the commercial break? We have 3 minutes. So where did you go? I know you did end up in teaching, but where did you have other stops? You had stand-up comedy in between and other stuff before
Well,
you got to the teaching?
I was a teacher for a long time. I never wanted to be a teacher. My husband said, when we go to San Francisco, you can get a teaching job. And I said, never, 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 never. And I went on for 5 minutes, and he said, okay, I got it. But I always seemed to go back to it for some reason, and I never really liked it. And I was always looking for something else to do. And then it dawned on me that it was just my calling. I'm like really good at it, and it was like divine intervention. And so from that point on, I really did enjoy it. And I did the stand-up like on the side, like on the side, that kind of thing. I wondered why I did that. I could have just been home laying in bed, not being scared. But that was definitely something I pushed myself through. I thought, no, you can do it. And I wasn't going to go. We did, I took a class. We were going to do it at the Improv Theater. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the class. But I was with such great people. Like in comedy, they don't care anything about you as long as you're funny. You can wear whatever you want, be as old as you want. And so there were really nice people in my class, all really young. So they kind of pushed me through. And I finally did do the improv, which I was really, really happy about. And I said to my friend, why am I doing this? I mean, I could be home, like, my age, sleeping. And after it was all over, I said, I've never done heroin. I've never done anything like that, but I don't think the feeling could be better. Do you know that feeling when you accomplish
Yes.
something? And I mean, it doesn't even have to be that. It could be anything. Like I was in the house like for 2 or 3 years with this COVID thing. And then with the eye thing and with all of this stuff going on. So I'm an avid Dodger fan. And so I went to spring training by myself, which I was scared to death to travel alone after all of that. But again, I just pushed myself, and it was great. I met all kinds of people there. And then when I got home, I felt like I got an Oscar, just that feeling of when you do something that you're afraid of. It's just
Yes.
nothing like it. Right.
Yes. Yes, I did a triathlon. It was a mini, but I did it.
Wow.
And there were so many things I was afraid of. It's in this book. I mean, things that when I was a kid didn't scare me, and then all of a sudden I was afraid of everything. And I did it anyway, each step along the way.
Right.
And I remember it was just this euphoria for the next couple days. Then it goes up, but it was like it was like a real high. It was very cool. So I get what you're saying. All right. So we are going to go to the commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about your book and the crazy writing and all your other stuff. So
has social emotional learning become just one more thing on your teachers' plates? Do teachers and students both find it boring and ineffective? Then bring Kikori to your school. Kikori transforms classrooms through experiential SEL activities that help students play, reflect, connect, and grow. Even better, students say it's more fun than recess. Schedule a no-obligation conversation at kikoriapp.com/bringkikori. KIKORI.
Do you ever feel like you can't say what you really want to say? Or that you're stuck or in a holding pattern in your relationships, career, personal life, or finances? Are there things you want in life that you've given up on? Are you resigned that this is as good as it's going to get? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then Hilary Burns, host of the Getting Real with Hilary show, has the solution you need. Hilary is a published author of 3 books and has a program called the Getting Real Process. This process frees you from what is holding you back, allowing you to create a life you love. Don't believe it? It is hard to believe that it could work, isn't it? The proof is that hundreds of Hilary's clients have used the Getting Real process and are now free to create whatever they want in relationships, career, finances, enjoying life, or just loving themselves more. So go to realtalkwithhilary.com and order Hilary's book, Real Talk, and set up a conversation.
Welcome back to the Getting Real with Hilary show. And thank you to our sponsors, kikoriapp.com/bringkikori. If you want to bring social emotional learning to your school, that's my daughter's company where she works. And it's an amazing, amazing company that is doing so much to socialize and connect children who, were all alone during COVID. So again, kikoriapp.com. And if you find yourself not loving your life and you'd love to, go to realtalkwithhilary.com, take my Real Talk quiz, and let's talk. Because you know what? If you're locked inside your head, not speaking, you might not be having a life you love. I wasn't, and I still work on it every day. So I love to help other people. And back to our guest, Rhory. And she has a funny story about how she got her name. I don't know if she wants to tell it, but I love her name, Rhory, if you can't see it. And welcome back, Rhory.
Thank you. Is it okay to say bad words? It's part of the story.
Sure.
No. So, my mom wanted to name me Rhory. She saw it in a movie with Ronald Reagan and Alexis Smith. And my mom sort of always lived outside the box, so to speak. And so it is a boy's name. And so people would intimidate her and say, how could you name a baby? How could you name a girl Rhory? And so, she didn't say anything. And then she was in labor with me for 48 hours. It was really horrible. She ended up losing a kidney over the whole deal. And so when the nurse came over to fill out the paperwork and she said, what's the baby's name? And my mother looked at her and she said, fuck it, Rhory, Rhory, Rhory. And so as the story goes, so I never liked my name when I was younger because people would always ask me to repeat it, and my mother, when people asked what's the baby's name, she would say Rhory, Rhory, Rhory. So I always thought everybody spelled their name. Like if somebody asked you what's your name, you'd say Hilary, Hilary, Hilary. I thought everybody spelled their name because she always spelled my name. And in school, like when they take the roll call and the teacher would hesitate, I always know it was me. But then when I got older, it was kind of nice to have something original. And I was telling you, I once had a counselor and camp say to me, Rhory, now that's a name one must live up to. And I was only like maybe 14 or 15 years old. So that was like something I just, for some reason, never forgot. So anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and then she had me name my sister. She goes, I'm going to let you name your sister. And so I named my sister Amy. And, it was like nice and sweet. And she is, my sister is just one fabulous person.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I understand because when I was growing up, no one knew what I was saying. I would say Hilary, Lori, no. Valerie, no. And then with Hillary Clinton, and she spells it with two L's. So I am so proud right now. I mean, I'm sorry for the devastation, but that Hurricane Hillary has one L. And I've never felt more powerful, but I know in a destructive way, but it's so cool, right? Well, maybe they'll have Hurricane Rory, right?
Oh yeah, it would be
We get to the
RORY.
R's.
When I went
know.
to,
Well,
go ahead.
that's why I'm shocked that they did it with one L, because
Yeah,
after Clinton, everyone got two L's. I'm like, no,
yeah.
one. So anyway, yeah.
Well,
All
when
right. So
I went,
back, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
going to say when I went to Scotland, I think it was. I called my mom and I said, nobody asked me to repeat my name now because it's an Irish name. And I found, those little plaques that they have, with the people's names that actually had my name. And I remember once my husband was on a business trip and he came back with these, those little lollipops that are like pens.
Mm-hmm.
He said one for Amy, my sister, one for Alice, my mother. And I thought, oh my God, he found a pen with my name on it. And one for Emily, Anyway.
Oh, I thought he found one too. All right. So back to you. So you were a teacher. What did you teach? What age, what kind of teaching did you do?
Well, I taught in New York. I taught regular kids. I taught in the inner city by choice.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I taught I started out in what do you call it, middle school, which was kind of hard. So the principal asked me what my major was in school, and I said speech and theater, and he said, "Well, that sounds like reading." And so that was it. That's became a reading teacher. And then as the years went by, I ended up I have a master's degree in special ed, so that's really my area of expertise is kids with learning disabilities, kids with autism, Down syndrome.
And how many years did you teach that?
Oh,
Or you still are?
I still am. Right now, I have my own practice. I have an educational therapy practice, and so I consult with different schools and school districts and such. I do one-on-one privately, and yeah. And I love what I do now. I just love it.
How do you consult with a school district, telling them what kind of programs to have, or like what would you do with them?
Well, I used to be an inclusion specialist. So that means I used to go around to the regular, general ed classrooms and help the teachers with kids that they had who had disabilities like autism and Down syndrome who were in a regular classroom. Since then, they don't do that as much. I did that for 10 years. And so now, every now and then, there'll be a parent that wants their child in a regular classroom. And so the district will call me in to oversee their education. So I'll come and visit, I'll modify their curriculum, I'll work with the aide that they have. And this one little girl I have now, she's just a miracle. They didn't think she would read, they didn't think anything, but the aide I have is so fantastic. She knows just like a little tiny bit less than I do, it seems like, and so between the two of us, we've and the classroom teacher and the mom, I mean, everybody in on it. This little girl can read now. I mean, she's in sixth grade, but she can read like maybe on a first or second grade level, but enough to be, somewhat literate. And there really are so many miracles out there with children if we just allow them to be who they are. Just like your daughter, I'm going to check out that app. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, they have different activities. So a teacher can just grab the activity and do it. And I've seen them, when she was they would do them, with the employees, and they were really cool.
Yeah.
They're like happy exercises. You just feel included, you feel loved, you feel appreciated. It's really, I think something that's missing. So from all of our lives.
Yeah.
So okay, so tell us. So you wrote your book. Rhory has a book, Prison of Doom. There it is. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your book? Because I know it's sort of for kids, but adults like it too. So go ahead, tell us about your book.
So the book came about when I was teaching in San Francisco in this beautiful Victorian house, and it was a school for kids with learning differences, and I was doing an exercise that I had gotten out of the forum, and I had the kids all close their eyes. The bottle is a piece of paper and a pencil, and to write paperback and throw it out to sea. And this one little boy, Robert, I will never forget his face. He came up to me and he said, Miss Kay, he said, I just can't get rid of the paper. And he said, I took the paper and I tore it up and I put it down the garbage disposal and it came back up again. He said, and then he had all these different ways that he tried to get rid of it. He says, I threw it in the garbage can. I took it outside. And I said, so what happened? He says, I took the bottle, he said, the little bottle, he says, and I hugged it against my chest and it just disappeared. And I thought that, my God, he was only 10 years old and that just never left me. And I thought, isn't that true? When we embrace our problems, they disappear. And so
Rhory, you had frozen a little when you said what was on the paper.
I just had them write down their troubles.
Their troubles, okay.
And then throw it back.
What do you mean? So how did it disappear? The paper actually?
No, this was in their mind. It was just okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was imagine that you're at the beach. Imagine that a bottle comes your way and there's a paper in it. And then imagine that you get rid of it. So all the kids threw it out to sea, except this one little boy who couldn't get rid of it. And how he got rid of it is he held it to his chest and he says, and it all just disappeared.
So he embraced his troubles. Wow.
Love to find that kid now. Anyway, and so years later,
wow.
Yeah, I actually found the woman who was the head of the school a couple of years ago, but she couldn't remember who he was. Yeah.
We have Lisa from San Diego on line 1 who's been reading Rhory's book. Can we have her comment, Rhory? Is that okay?
Sure.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, my name's Lisa, and I'm calling from San Diego. I had the privilege of reading Rhory's book. I have learning disabilities, and I loved it from page to page. So I just wanted to share that. I think it's not only for kids, but it's also for adults as well. I just want to share that.
Thank you. And can you just say what you loved about it so we can appreciate that?
Well, it was for being somebody that has learning challenges. For me, I could understand it and comprehend the book, and being able to read it from page to page and remember what I read, it was really important.
It's true.
Wow. Thank you. Anything you want to ask,
Rhory?
Oh,
by the way, pardon me?
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say, and there's a lot of stuff about baseball. I'm also a baseball fan as well. So that's really important. It ties it all in. So that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. That's awesome. Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it. Oh, well, that was cool. That was perfect timing. Thank you so much, Lisa. We're glad you love the book. That puts it in perspective. So, okay. So go ahead, Rhory. So you have that little boy who was embracing his troubles.
Yeah, and I forgot about it. Years and years and years passed, and I thought, I don't know, that would make like a nice story. And then I went to the University of Iowa for a while, which is one of the best schools in the country for writing. But I went to their summer writing festival, and I met a teacher there, and I made her my teacher for years. And I said, because I was going to just write like a short story, and I said, I don't think I can write a book because I got like a little bit of ADD myself. And I said, I don't think I could keep the characters straight. And she said, well, why don't we give it a try? And I said, okay. And so I met with her once a week, probably for 4 years. I mean, it took forever to write the book. And I said to her, it was interesting because now that the characters, and I named them after, one of them is my nephew. And so I had, that was kind of fun to do. And lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah. Anyway, so the characters got so real that of course I knew what they were going to do. I feel like I know them now. And that was such an incredible, that was just incredible for me to be able to do that. And so with her help, her name was Ms. Mary Allen. She's written some really, really great books. So anyway, so the book was born. And then Yeah. So the part about the bottle is in the story. It's a big piece of how things turned out. It kind of be like the climax of the story and how it turned out. And the story is about a 7th grade boy named Jake, who is a phenomenal left-handed pitcher. And anybody in baseball knows that that's hard to find. And he had twin brother and sister who were really smart, and and he had just lost his mom, and so the story unwinds, and he had a really, really mean teacher. And I think that's what a lot of adults that have read the book really identify with what it was like for them in school, having learning differences or dyslexia or whatever, how hard it was. And it started with, I wrote a poem. It was like 100-line poem. I'm not a poet by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know where it came from, this 100-line poem. And out of the poem, that's when I decided to write the book. And the poem is in the back of the book as well.
Wow. Oh, all right. So
it's just a sweet story. I don't know that I have another book in me, but it's just really a sweet story.
All right. And the book can be found at, I'm looking, Prison of Doom by Rhory, Rhory Kadish Lamboy, and you can find it on Amazon. Prison of Doom, and there's a little boy looking like he's in prison on the front. Poor guy. So yeah, so order her book. If you know someone who's had trouble learning, there's a lot of people who have learning issues, and get the book for them. Get it for yourself if you have them. And according to Lisa, this can make a big difference for you. So thank you again, Lisa, for calling in. All right, so that's her book. We'll bring that up again at the end. You also want to talk about your crazy writing?
Yeah, I do this. I started this class a long time ago with kids and just kids in general, and they would follow me on their lunch hour. They would beg me, can we please do crazy writing? They come in on their lunch hour, and mostly like 4th and 5th graders. And what it is a course that I teach that has no rules, no spelling rules, nothing rules. If you're thinking about your dinner in the middle of it, you can write whatever's in your head, and just incredible things come out of it. It started with this little boy who was having trouble writing, and I asked him to tell me about his mom's van, and he said, my mom has a green van. And I said, okay, forget everything you ever learned about writing. No topic sentence, no supporting details, just tell me the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of your mom's van. And he said, oh, my mom's van is disgusting. He said, she's got old McDonald's hamburgers in the back seat and French fries in the front. And so I said to him, which one of those stories would you rather read? My mom has a green van, or my mom's van is disgusting. And so from there, it was born. And I started to do it with the kids at school during lunch. And I'm a little naive sometimes, but I took these starbursts and I put one on each of the kids' desks in the days where when we were allowed to feed them. And I said, okay, you have 5 minutes. Here's the candy. Write everything you know about that candy. And so, I got really interesting. One little girl said, somebody told me that if you can open up a starburst with your tongue without using your hands, that you'll be a good kisser. And I didn't think about it until I got home. I thought, oh my God, I hope she doesn't go home and tell her mother that. But yeah, but it was very creative, so yeah. So I'm now going to do that course with, I've done it a little bit with adults, and we're going to continue doing that. And I'm also giving that course at a private school. So yeah. And,
cool. And what do you think that provides for people? I mean, obviously freedom. Anything else that you would say that?
Oh yeah. Like I have a lot of people that say they're not writers. And they really enjoy it because it's not there's nothing judgmental about it. We pick out the nicest parts of their crazy writing, and people who do write, like pearls come out. When you let it all come out, like pearls of wisdom will come out, and those are things that you can use in later writing. I think it's useful and it's fun. It's fun because we don't write for more than 5 minutes at a time. Yeah. And it's great.
Wow. Awesome. Well, Roy, this has been so much fun and so interesting. What would you like to leave people with? I mean, obviously you want them to buy your book, and it's
Right.
Prison of Doom on Amazon.
Yeah, very
Um,
interesting. And
yeah,
can you
what
put my
message
email
would you
up
like?
there? Um,
Yes, the schoolwork guru at gmail.com. That's Rory. The schoolwork guru at gmail.com is how you would reach Rory if you want to
right.
do crazy writing or talk to her about anything. If you
Yeah,
have children who have, or anyone with
yeah.
disabilities, please reach out to Rory.
And
And
if they write to me, I can send them something about crazy writing.
okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Or the link to your book. And what message would you like to leave people with?
Um, just never quit, never, never, never quit. And one of my commitments is to laugh every day and make somebody else laugh every day, because I think humor is our best friend. So
Mm.
yeah. So yeah, just yeah, just keep going.
Anything about fear?
Yeah, just like you said before, take things in little pieces. If you're afraid of something, like when I was going through this during COVID, sometimes the best I could do was to sit up in the bed and put my feet on the floor, and be around people that aren't toxic. Like, be around really positive people that know who you are and remind you who you are, and to see who you are through their eyes. Sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, and if we could see ourselves through our friends' eyes, it would make a big difference.
Mm. Wow. Well, thank you, Rhory Kadish Lamboy. I said it right. Thank you so much for your inspiration, for not giving up, and just for keep going no matter what happens. So thank you so much for being an inspiration.
Thank you as well.